Welcome to the symbolic lodge of conversation, where consciousness and curiosity interweave into discussion. This is All Square Podcast. I'm your host, R.O. Franks, and today I have a brother who's been a Mason for almost a year. He's now entered the second degree of Freemasonry, known as a fellowcraft. By day, he's an ops manager, but all the time, he's a family man. This is the story of my brother, Jeff Brown. Jeff, thank you for joining the podcast today.
Good to be here.
Jeff, when did we first meet?
Sometime end of November last year. Mike was going into Grotto. I think he was supposed to be being voted on to be put into it.
It was at one of the fellowship dinners?
Mommy, a steak and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. They made food. It was good. There was some good people.
That's great. I always like to kind of start off the podcast with some rapid fire questions. It's just 5 quick questions just to get to know you, and you feel free, comfortable, whatever you want to talk about. So you ready for the first one?
Go for it.
Number 1, where were you born and raised?
Born Toledo, Ohio. First half of my life raised in Tennessee up until I was 9, and then the last of it was back in Toledo.
Did you have a Masonic lineage in your family before you joined the fraternity?
That's yet to be known for me. My grandfather, my papaw, for me, he had a bunch of Mason rings. So, yes, but maybe, there's some questions. There's some questions about his, who he really was, because I found out some things through ancestry that he wasn't who he said he was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't. Right. We'll go with the yes for now.
Okay. Yes for now. Number 3, what did you think of our producer, Michael Liu's journey into Masonry? Like, you probably got to see that firsthand. You guys are pretty close.
I didn't know a lot about it, honestly. I didn't talk to Mike about it too much. He had invited me to a brisket and bourbon.
Yeah.
The year prior, before I actually went to the Grotto thing. And at that point there, I was having some religious conflicts with myself, and I didn't feel that it was necessarily a good time for me to jump into that, because I think Mike had at fellowcraft at that point. So I didn't want to make him look bad. I didn't want to be, from what I knew about Masonry, it wasn't religious, but it was religious-ish. And I don't like to be a liar. So I don't want to go in to say something. My integrity is something that is huge for me.
Yeah.
So.
My 4th question is, I see you have some ink on you. Tattoos always typically have a deep symbolic meaning. I mean, to get it on your skin. You want to tell us a little bit and show the audience what is represented on your skin?
Sure. On my right hand is my daughter's name and a rose tattoo. It's a song by Dropkick Murphys, Rose Tattoo. Listen to it. It's fantastic. And I told my daughters I promised I'd get it for them. So I did. The rest of this right arm is Ninja Turtles. And then on my forearm, it says Death Before Dishonor, which is a military thing. I was in the Army. Left arm is a half sleeve currently of all Scandinavian. It's Odinistic tattoos. That's kind of where my beliefs are at for the most part. More of a spiritual, but that's if I had to pick something, I went with my heritage after we're, like I said, talking about the ancestry and stuff like that. Like, I just kind of picked something and got into it because I believed in something more than me, but I wasn't sure what.
Wow.
So I gave myself my own foundation.
Well, with these tattoos, wow, you got them like on your knuckles and whatnot.
Absolutely.
What do some of those represent?
So the ones I have, my runes on my hands,
Can you show that to the camera?
Absolutely. So they're not just letters. Like, a lot of it's the Elder Futhark, which is the writing for Scandinavian. Viking, if you're that thing, but not all people were Vikings. So I have family, I have honor, loyalty, which I find to be important because I want loyalty in my relationship. I knew eventually I'd marry my wife. So that was big to me, and just integrity. So those are important values to me, and I want them as a constant reminder anytime I look at myself.
How long have you had them?
Oh, I got these 2012-ish, right after I got out of the military, like a year after. I got this, and then I didn't have anything else on this arm. Then I got the Vestigier, which I know is not Scandinavian, but
What is the Vestigier? As we, for some people who might not be familiar with
it's
it.
a representation. It's a compass, essentially, but depending on how far you dig into it, it's a representation of the 9 realms. So again, it goes into that Odinisk belief, but then it also travels into Germanic and the Franks and all that stuff there. Yes, Franks, calm down. Um, but it's just to remind me that to guide myself, because I find myself constantly questioning things, constantly like I want answers, and I don't care if I'm wrong in what my belief system is. I want to be right in my belief system. So I'm always guiding myself in that and trying to gain knowledge.
It's interesting that the Norse have a compass, and so does our society, our fraternity in the Freemasons. My fifth question is, what do you think of that when you had this on you since 2012?
Yep.
After the service, thank you for your service. What was it like stepping into Freemasonry and having these symbols revealed to you?
I enjoy it. Especially from what I've learned about masonry so far. I enjoy the compass and the rounding myself and the smoothing and bettering myself out. Um, because that's what I've always tried to do. So I grew up in a rough neighborhood, rough lifestyle, rough parenting, and it's at no fault of my parents. They did what they could with what they had. I got my own thoughts and opinions on that, but we'll see if we dive into that today. But I always wanted to be better than what I grew up with. I didn't want to be stuck. I wanted options.
Options, okay.
So I found myself always wanting to learn, because even if I got stuck turning a wrench, I wanted it to be because I wanted to turn a wrench, not because that was my option.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. You mentioned a hobby that you before we started recording about reading.
Mhm.
What did reading provide for you, and what do you like to read?
So again, we were poor, so we didn't have TV always available necessarily. But I grew up in, my parents would disagree, but I grew up in a rather abusive household. We'll just say it was the Gen X raising there. I found myself in my room a lot. So my mom, who grew up pastor's daughter, they were very big into reading. So my mom had tons and tons of books. I was very educated at a young age. My mom believed in making sure I knew how to read. So I got great at reading way too young. Like, not that that's a bad thing, but
No.
so I read books like Oliver Twist. I read all of Sherlock Holmes, Edgar Allan Poe. I read theology books. Not just one thing my mom was big into was making sure that I knew religion, not just what the religion we were being brought up into, but I had a belief system and I could look into other beliefs.
Yeah.
My mom, while being a Christian, wanted me to find who I was. So I throw a lot of blame at them for a lot of things, but at the same time, my mom always wanted me to be a better than what she was. So I'll always give her that respect.
Yeah, there's I forget who said it. Somebody I know said once that from 0 to 18, like, you look up to your parents because, like, they're what's providing for you, and the environment that's around, whether it's good or bad,
Right.
right? That becomes normal. But then after you turn 18 and you're out on your own, you kind of question everything that your family raised you up on. And just realizing that everybody's human and everybody's different, and some things they excel in, and then other things, they kind of didn't excel in.
They excelled in growing me up fast.
That's good.
Uh,
But it was that the environment that also raised
that
you?
was the environment.
Sure.
Is I had to learn to read people. Like, I knew when my dad was taking a footstep through the house. Like, my dad was a very angry person, right? Very abusive. It was yeah. Like, if my dad was home,
In your room?
you were in your room, because don't make a noise because you don't interrupt adults, right?
Sure.
But lost track where I was at
No
with
worries. No worries. What overall dealing with that anger
that. Mhm.
in your life, and I mean, how did that come travel with you?
So when I got my first job, I started at Meyer out in Maumee.
Okay.
I kinda got away from the friends in the South and the Toledo, Libby High School and all that there, and kind of made those people my friends. I had a friend, he was from Springfield, another one from Maumee, of course, but they were all well-to-do families. My one buddy, Maumee High School, his parents, fantastic people. They were basically second parents to me. They taught me a lot. My buddy from Springfield, his family, like, they all had good lives, and that's really like, I was angry at my childhood before that, but that's where my real anger kinda came from is how the hell do you have parents that love you and treat you so well and don't have to like that? And I know that sounds like a pity story sitting here talking on a
No, no.
camera, but it's like that's where like my anger really started to fuel. And then once I moved out,
Yeah, knowing that these truths that you grew up in weren't truths.
correct.
Yeah.
So I turned 18, and the moment I turned 18, I'd already been setting since I was 16, doing the math on what it took to get an apartment, what it took. Like, I was going through my parents' bills. What are they paying for electric? What are they paying for water? So, but when I turned 18, I saved up money and I went out and did all those things immediately.
Yeah.
And I was mad. Like, I learned about my next job was working construction, and fantastic people, a small construction company right out of Wild Lake, Michigan. I didn't know about credit, and I was blowing money left and right, this and that. And my boss's wife actually one day said something to me. She's saying I had a lot of newer things, and
Yeah.
somebody my age shouldn't be having those things. And she asked me about it, and they taught me about how credit worked.
Sure.
Like, that's something my parents should have taught me, right? You know, but
I think there's a big financial literacy over the last few generations of not in even in school institutions that haven't prepared us to how to be successful. Maybe call it a conspiracy or not, but I think sometimes they intentionally do that because they'd much rather people trapped in the rut of, you know, credit, financial crisis,
for sure.
right? Because it's a way to control.
But yeah, but those, like, that's the thing though, is that should have been something my parents should have taught me. My parents are both my dad's a high school dropout and is still to this day one of the smartest people I know. My mother is one of the smartest people I know. So how can you be that smart and not be capable yourself to take care of yourself, let alone raise kids? And there was a few of us. So I was angry that I didn't learn things that other people, friends, my friends knew those things. They knew how to go out and get a car the right way. They knew how to go out and make sure they were paying their bills the right way. Like, they were taught those basic things. And then I went off to the military after a while. And when I got to the military, they kind of fed that anger. Not like, I'm not saying like they intentionally like, but they harness that in
Okay.
you, right? So they make you focused and you're going to go off and die somewhere. You need to be the scariest, most terriblest thing to ever walk the face of this planet. So that breeds a mentality of anger. Like, I mean, it is what it is. Like, you
So I want to
learn.
make sure I want to make sure I understand that. So when you say that the military kind of harvest and hampered on that,
Well, it breeds brotherhood, which is actually how I got led to masonry.
yeah,
It breeds a lot of great things, but it definitely harnesses hate anything that's not your circle,
got it.
right? Because you have to hate whatever, because if you can rationalize, if you can relate to somebody, then you're not going to be able, how are you going to go over and shoot these people, blow these people up, run them over with a car, whatever it is that you're about to go and do,
Mhm.
or contribute to somebody else doing those things? They don't want you to be compassionate and empathetic, and they need you
You got
focused on the mission.
Yep, focus on a mission. What was your overall thoughts when you stepped into Freemasonry?
It was a different thing for me. It created a new anger, actually. Um,
Freemasonry created anger.
it it's not a negative anger. So military, you learn one type of brotherhood. You learn, which masonry's got a little bit of this too, where you just jab at each other and stuff like that. But military is like you tear each other down. And I love my brothers. Anybody who happens to see this podcast that served with me, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We've done some terrible things to one another.
Sure.
But masonry teaches you to respect. It teaches you to reflect on yourself. Like I was always a person who's wanted to grow, constantly learning myself. So I appreciated that about masonry, but it gave me, why was I not seeing this? And masonry, from all the guys that I've met at Lodge so far in the last year, like just let it go. Am I allowed to point out a brother?
Yeah, as long as nothing disparaging.
No, Adam Latham. I said something one night at a Lodge meeting and he goes, "Why are you holding on to that, dude?" Like just the way he said it was like, dude, you don't need to hold that. I'm like, and that was early. I think I might have been in the Lodge twice.
Really?
Maybe 3 times. Like it was not like I did my EA and then I started popping up and I was like, am I allowed to go to Lodge? And they're like, yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I stayed out after Lodge the one night and we were talking about something and I got a little pissed off about it because it kind of triggered a memory. And then Adam's like, dude, you ain't gotta, why are you holding on to that, brother? Like, right. And I wasn't used to that being called brother by a bunch of guys I just met a few weeks ago. So that kind of threw me off, but it was like genuine concern and care. Yeah. And that wasn't something I was used to. Like military, you care about each other. Like there's people you're willing to die for, but you wouldn't trust with your wife. Like that sounds terrible, right? But that's the military thing where as far as now in the last year, I haven't met a single person in masonry where I'm like, I don't feel like they don't care about me, which it sparks that anger because like I didn't have that. But it's a good thing because I don't have a family. Like I got Mike, I've got a couple friends, which, you know, I found I was going through that hard thing of not having family here back at my last birthday. But I'll tell you what, Mike showed up, a few of my friends, people I brought into my life. And then now when I do things, everything I've done in the last year that's been outside my house with my family, because that's all I do is family time, is been with Masons. Because I know, even if I don't know them, I'm comfortable with being around them and I can trust them when I talk to them.
So let's go into another topic real quick, because actually, after we get through this topic, it's going to bleed into 2 different paths that I hope come together.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of...
No, I love
shotgun when I speak.
I love it. And we're going to go into myth busting. So what do you feel now that you've been in where people consider Freemasonry a cult?
My daughter's ex-boyfriend, when he found out I was actually going the night for my EA, said, he's going to have to sacrifice one of his children to get into that. Like, okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, but then, like, a lot of people, like, I've seen the BS movies, the National Treasure, where they kind of cover into masonry, like they throw in some symbols and this and that. But I didn't know a lot about it. But as far as like that, I'm like, dude, that's trash. Especially now after a year, I'm like, it's just people come together and, hey, dude, why are you holding on to that?
Right.
Like that was a huge impact for me that day. Like being around you, you're fun, you're enjoyable, you're knowledgeable. Being around Mike is just this, everybody's his brother. Like
they're all your brothers too.
No, I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. Like, but I've got different perspectives from each of you. Meeting Gerald is this knowledgeable. He came from one background of how he got into masonry. Eric Erickson, I enjoy his story. When I watched you guys' podcast and then talk with Eric. Eric is one of the kindest people. Like, but that's all the Masons I've met. It's all the kindest people. Like in life before masonry, like, oh, dude, that's one of the kindest people I ever met. And then you won't say that for 2 or 3 more years. Every time I meet somebody new, you're like, the other night we did a party for Christmas. And I met a guy who's up to be promoted. I already forgot.
I would need to have some more context.
Gray-haired. His name, I believe, was Jeff.
Oh, Jeff Syme.
So
Yes. He's in the Grand Line. He's in our state leadership.
right. So just met him. Fantastic conversation. Great conversation about some bourbon. Just that's the first time I've met that guy. That guy to most people in the civilian world, if you look at me, I'm covered in tattoos. I'm 6'3". I'm a 280-pound guy. I look mean, born that way. It's not my fault. You know, it is what is there. He didn't care one way or another. He heard I was a Mason. Best conversation.
It's interesting, isn't it? How that comes about, where they have these stigmas of it's a cult, or you have to be in a bloodline to be a part of this. And then being on the inside, watching them outside just try to tell your narrative. You know what I mean? It's just truly fascinating. And I think we can both agree that myth is busted.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why we do All Square, because we really want to just show the world for the men who really need this out here. Mental health for everyone, men, women, but you know, there's a tribe, there's a place for you to be, and it doesn't matter about your background or whatever it is, or if you're covered in tattoos or not. You're a brother. As long as you can stand by and be a good man and true, you're a brother. I want to go into with your relationship with Mike Lou, because Mike was one of the first people when we brought this together. He was the first one in the chair on our first podcast, talking about agoraphobia, talking about how he had to overcome things in his life. You know, what's that relationship been like? Because, yeah, you guys are cousins.
Yeah.
But there's definitely that brotherhood, you know, that binds you both. So talk about your relationship with Mike Lou.
Mike has been a mentor to me since we were little kids. Like I said, there was 41 of us cousins.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I have 5 uncles and my mom, right? So we repopulated the South End essentially.
I'm from there.
There's like 5 major families in the South End, and my family's one of the. You can't trip around a corner without running into a Lou. My last name's Brown, but you know,
yeah,
like there's a lot of us. And if you don't know one of us, you've heard about one of us,
mm-hmm.
you know? But Mike was, since we were kids, and we both had, and I don't mean to put Mike's business out. I know he talked a little bit in his podcast, but we had some rough childhoods, especially at our grandparents' house. Like I said, we grew up pastor for a grandfather, grandmother who didn't live the values of a wife of a pastor for certain. But Mike managed to stay positive through all that and was always fun. It didn't matter what was going on. Like, we could have got our butts beat with that belt, and Mike's just smiling afterward, and we're going right back to doing. And I've always admired that about Mike. Like, Mike has always been that, like, dude, how do you stay positive during that?
So this church, right?
Yeah.
That you're a part of.
That's what we'll call it.
Yeah. You said beat your butt. Like, was there a lot of punishment and anger in that too?
My grandmother,
because I wouldn't see that in a faith. You wouldn't see that in a typical faith organization.
My grandpa, he was not a hands-on disciplinarian, and he would always be the, oh, I'm the positive and fun one. So my grandmother assumed the disciplinary. If you were in her, she literally had a sign in her home that said, "This is my house. This is my home. If you don't control your child, I will, and I'll beat them too." So that's what the sign said in the kitchen door.
Wow.
So yeah, and she wore a belt. Mind you, she wore a dress, so she didn't need a belt. She literally carried a belt around just to beat the crap out of us. Like, and that was like a pastime for that woman.
Really?
So,
you know, Lou's talked about off screen about your grandfather talking about hellions and whatnot, and you know, kids had to be seen, not heard, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was a part of your environment. Again, your environment shapes you. So Mike was this example for you. When you did you find this did you find masonry with the trinkets that your grandfather owned? Was this the pastor grandfather, or is this another?
This is my papaw had the Mason's rings and stuff like that. But I found masonry through Mike. And I say that because even as adults, we're both grown man, I've got gray hair going on and a beard now. I'm not a child by no means. I figured if Mike was doing it, it's probably a good thing
Well,
because Mike is the type of person, I don't care where he's at. Dude, this is going to be a little weird for you to hear this out loud. But Mike is the type of person, doesn't matter. We could be in a drug den somewhere, and Mike is going to find the positive person in that group. He's going to find the positivity in the situation of being stuck there. You could be in a jail with Mike where there's rapists, child molesters, murderers, and everything else. And Mike is going to be like, yeah, dude, it's gonna be an all right day. Like Mike is that guy. Like he's always like that beacon of light. Like it's gonna be all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where me,
Finding
I'm
the
like assessing the situation everywhere I'm looking. Like oh, I got that.
Sure.
Like I see, and that's one of the things that's been nice about Masonry is a lot of you guys, the majority that I've met are like that. Where you're like, oh, brother, have you seen this? Have you talked about this? Have you talked to this person? He's got a similar, like there's always somebody's always got a light somewhere to guide you.
Yeah, you find the silver lining, and you're making the most out of it, and that's what you've done. And you've developed
It is in the last year. It certainly shaped me. I will tell you what. I've had a hard year at work this year. A lot of changes. A lot of directions I'm not happy with, but that is what that is. That's work, right?
Yeah.
It's always changing. But in that time, I found a lot of positivity and stuff like that. We were talking earlier off screen about manifestation. Mike has been big on that for way before we got into Masonry.
Can you just give the audience just a little bit more about what that the term manifestation and when Mike talks about it?
Think it, believe it, and it'll happen. And you just repeat it to yourself like it's a mantra, essentially. And I'll tell you what, like I've tried and I've tried and I've tried. I like, how do you do it, Mike? Because Mike's always like, oh, I'm going to do this. Like, this is going to happen. And it freaking does. And then I try it. I'm like, and my brain, for something like I guess my brain just wasn't there with it. And then here in the last couple months, my brain is like, all right, I got this thought, this happened. And then I'm like manifesting this thought about getting a new job. I'm like, I'm going to find something that's going to make me happy. It's going to kind of get me out of the, I'm really good at management. I'm really good at doing the ops management. I know my P&L. I know my KPIs. I'm great at it. I'm excelling. My areas, what I own, is doing the best it's done in 10 years.
Sure.
I'm happy about those things, but I'm not happy. I'm not finding that
fulfillment.
Right. I'm not getting that fulfillment anymore. And I am like, I'm going to keep on doing this manifestation. And the Friday before this happened, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to find something that I want to do. I've got a very eclectic background, and by no means, like, I've got a plethora of knowledge. I've gone to a lot of different schools for a lot of different things. And my buddy reached out to me out where I live at. And he's like, hey, my wife works over here at the Department of Corrections. They're hiring right now. Pays this kind of overtime, this kind of PTO. And I'm like, I'm going to work less hours, make more money, get more time with my family, which is the goal. Like, that's the goal, is as much time with my family as I possibly can. And like everything I want comes from that, and I'll end up making more money. So,
did your friend who recommended this to you know that that's what you were out seeking?
No, not a clue.
Not a clue.
Not a clue.
Wow.
He just shot me a text one morning. He's like, hey, Charity said that we got this going on over here at the courthouse. She works here at the Department of Corrections. We think you'd be a perfect fit at that job. I'm like, cool, check it out. So Monday I went in, stuck in the application. Tuesday I got a call. Wednesday I did an interview. I was in the interview for 5 minutes. They offered me the job, and then I sat there for 40 more minutes just hanging out and talking with the guys.
It's just amazing how everything just fell right into place.
It was the simplest interview I've ever done.
Yep. And again, that has another myth of being busted. That had no connection to Masonry or anything. That was just you manifesting it, correct?
I just wanted it. And I'm like, I'm going to make that happen.
Oh,
I didn't care what I had to go through to make it happen. And I didn't have to go through anything.
Sure. Yeah.
I had a thought. I'm like, this is going to happen. And it just did.
That's really incredible. Yeah, because me and Mike always joke around and laugh, and we said we always believe we manifested each other, because I wanted to do a podcast years ago, and then Lou had the space. He's like, I really want to do something. I'm like, we should do a podcast, a video podcast, and boom, and now it's just blown up to this incredible, like, platform that, we're both really grateful at, and we're just putting out content. We're not talking to the highest high Masons, we're talking to everyday Masons, and we're talking, all I'll interview anybody that wants to tell their story, because there's a person out there who can relate to you and realize they came from kind of a hellish background, that, wow, I'm not the only guy suffering through this. So I appreciate you being one vulnerable to talk about that. I want to go into the family aspect with you, what your wife think about this, your kids think about this, in managing anger as you're on this path.
We'll start with my wife.
Okay.
So Janice she's one of those people in my prior to Masonry where you're like, if you meet her, she is the best person. I don't care who you are. You could be the most terrible person. And when you meet her, she's all the empathy in the world, most compassionate person in the world. She is just, I didn't deserve her. I'm gonna tell you, I didn't deserve her when I met her at 11. I didn't deserve her at 26.
11?
We've known each other since we were itty bitty little kids.
Cool.
And she shot me a message on Facebook while I was still in the Army, and I messaged her back, and I was like, hey, I'm in the Army, like, we're friends, whatever. And then just kind of happened that my medical discharge and everything and went along with that. Like, I'm gonna be home in a few months. So like, I moved a little bit faster, and she was ready to. She was coming out of a past relationship and doing some stuff, but she going into Masonry, anything I've ever wanted to do, she supports me, and I do the same for her. Like, that's we support and build each other. We both look for constant growth, and like, I pushed her because she wanted to be an author, but she never wanted to go and take those steps. Like, she was like always writing. It took her 10 years to put her first book out, and I just constantly do it. Then she hit Amazon top 10 bestseller with her first book. Like,
that's awesome. And it's a support system.
Right.
And again, there was another one. So you had Michael, who was an example. You had your wife, who then again is your example in supporting you. That's beautiful. So her coming into this organization, did she have a background in Masonry?
She has no idea about nothing about Masonry.
Did she obviously had questions about it?
She kind of went based off of me. She's known Mike for a little bit, she's met Mike on and off throughout the years, and she likes Mike, and she trusts me. So she's like, if you and Mike are both doing it, I like the way that you are when you're with Mike, because anytime me and Mike are around each other, like, we're not just cousins. Like, it's always been brothers with us. Like, we all grew up.
And there's a lot of you too.
There's a lot of us, but we're not all brothers.
Yeah. Right.
We're all related, but we're not all brothers.
I get it. Yeah, no, that's really cool that she came in with an open mind, because so many people have preconceived notions, especially what they just maybe saw in a clip, like one of those reels or whatnot. Your kids.
My son, he thinks it's cool. He doesn't know nothing about nothing.
How old?
He's 14.
14. Okay.
So he doesn't know anything about anything, but he looks up to me like I wrestled in school. So now he's a wrestler. Like, anything I do, and it's been fantastic.
Can you put your hand down? Just because some people might be.
My apologies.
No
so he's always trying to model after me, and then just some of the changes, like, I try to, without like now talking to him about Mason, like things that, like Adam Latham with why are you holding on to that? Like, with him, I'm like, dude, you don't have to be that way. Like, take this perspective. And the big thing that changed for him since I've been in Masonry is he'll walk into work with me sometimes, and he asked me one day, he goes, why do all these people come up to you at your job? Like, you're off and they know you're off, but they all come up and, hey, and they show you this respect. He goes, why are they that way with you? I'm like, I treat them with respect. And I'm like, and I told him, I was like, I think a part of that is, I got into Masonry, and how I got into Masonry is my cousin seeing that I'm a person that tries to be respectful. I'm trying to grow and always be a better person. I'm like, and that's what I teach at my job to people. Yeah. So even the people who I'm like, I've had to hold them accountable, right? Some sort of disciplinary action, whether it's conversation, document, or whatever, they still come up to me.
What do your family members, as well as your friends, think about you being a part of this fraternity?
Nobody really knows. Like, they know, but they don't know, right? Um, I was supposed to be doing something with my sister and her fiance one night, and we got talking about it. He's Catholic, and he's like
Yeah.
old school Catholic, right? So he was like, "Yeah," because I was like, Bob, this would actually be something that'd be right up your alley. I'm like, and he was like, "Yeah, that's not for me," right? And I'm not pushing. I was just talking about, I was explaining, like, I enjoy stuff. I'm like, this is like a whole group of good people. I'm like, it's all a bunch of different backgrounds as far as financial background, religious backgrounds. I'm like, it's a group of people that all just sit and try to grow each other. And he's like, that ain't me. My sister, she's like, "Are you happy?"
Yeah.
Because my sister, she is my best friend besides my wife, right? We grew up different houses, but somehow ended up being the same person.
Yeah.
Weirdly, like, it's weird. But and then I don't really talk to the rest of my family. Like, I talk to Mike. I'll talk to Mike's brother Rob once in a blue moon. And then the rest of our family, as far as mine and Mike's family, is criminals. I mean, they are. And then I don't have, like, there's no other Browns, right? Um, I was telling you earlier, like, I found out that my papaw wasn't who he said he is. Like, we already kind of knew he wasn't. Like, we knew he had a different name. He was born allegedly in 1920, found out he was actually born in 1911.
Oh,
So, through a family in Tennessee, which is super prominent in Tennessee, their real name is Lau, unless the cops are involved, and then they go by the last name Lowe, spelled the same, pronounced different. There's a
okay.
whole story on the grandfather. That's the thing. Um, so I don't there's not a Brown side of the family that I
Sure.
really know. And the Laos, like, my dad knows them, but I don't know them.
Right.
So
When it came to becoming a Freemason, what was have you had that aha moment since going through your first 2 degrees now? Has there been, like, any aha moment?
what do you mean?
Well,
I know what a aha moment is,
yeah,
but, like,
like, something that you originally thought or preconceived notion about Freemasonry that it just brought you saw something or witnessed something or was a part of something that brought you instant clarity, an aha moment. Has that happened?
for me, no.
Okay.
And I don't mean to say, like, no, like, I didn't have a preconceived notion. As we discussed earlier, I was prior military. And
Okay.
if you've ever watched Hollywood and watched a military movie, especially if you were military, 99.9% of that is garbage. So I assumed, with the few movies I've seen that involved any type of Masonic anything, I'm like, 99.9% of that's probably garbage, right? It's
Right.
to fill a movie and call it a day, right? And I use National Treasure because that's probably, like, the most prevalent one. Or what's the one with God, what's his name? It's Angels and Demons. He's an author. Dan Brown.
Dan Brown, yeah.
Like, that first movie in there. Like, okay, so there's a little Masonic stuff in there, but again, 99.9% of that's probably trash. So when I went through my background before I even did my EA, Dave and Mark Harris and
Yeah.
all them, like, they all sat there and they were asking me, like, what do you think? Like, what do you think about Masonry right now? And I'm like, I don't think anything about it. Like, I know I know my cousin Mike. I knew you enough that, you seconded me, but I was like, I want to go into this blank slated. I want to go into
Sure.
this, like, and I don't even want to have a question. Like, I just want to take in what it is.
Yeah,
Like,
the full
because
experience.
I don't want to bias going
Yeah.
into it. Like, I don't want to sit down and be like, hey, I went in, they did my background. We went out, we did the dinner background portion, but I sat down and I looked up what's his face, Manly Hall or whatever. Like,
Manly P. Hall.
like, read that crap there. Now, don't get me wrong. Since being
Some
in
deep
and doing my EA, I've done a little this and that, but I've not dug. I've tried to stay within within the degree I was in,
Sure. Well,
which is hard to do.
Manly P. Hall is an interesting occult author,
Right.
because with Manly P. Hall, he wrote a lot of stuff about Freemasonry, and he wasn't a Freemason before that. Now, his mother definitely had influence in other esoteric mystery organizations. I believe, don't quote me here, the Rosicrucian Fellowship, which was created by Max Heindel. I also believe that he had experience in another organization that's not Masonic, called Boda, which I can't remember the whole translation of what Boda is, but it's a whole mystery school, esoteric school of thought. Rosicrucian Fellowship with Max Heindel is another not Masonic, but it has esoteric, hermetic thoughts and beliefs and philosophical beliefs. Um, Again, I don't know that much, so read with your own
I try to treat it
discernment.
like Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's what I did. Is if you're writing a book about something that you're not supposed to be talking about, I'm assuming 99.9 of it is probably BS, and or you're putting out stuff that from your perspective.
Yeah. No.
Well, I won't even say from your perspective,
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to be cautious with that because you don't know what paths those are going to take you
because
down.
you being a 33rd, me being a fellow craft, we are going to have two different perspectives of masonry.
Yeah, just even being a Mason, even before I was elevated to receive the 33rd, question everything. Do not get over your skis on certain schools of thought. You just have to digest it, understand it. And again, you're so new into the fraternity. I mean, you've almost eclipsed a whole year. So just focusing on where you're at now on your journey is more than enough because it's a
Mm.
lifelong journey. I really would like to also go to another one of our segments called Turning the Tables, where this gives our guests some times to provide questions to me of things that they've come across. So you're up to 2 questions. What has been something that's been burning on your mind that I can willfully, talk about?
Rob,
Yes.
you being a South Toledo boy,
Yes.
much like myself,
I am.
growing up literally a block and a half away from me, weirdly.
Yep, but never met each other.
That's wild.
Yeah.
We do not talk or act like South End people.
No.
Yeah, we both still found masonry.
Mhm.
What led you to masonry?
Ooh. I really appreciate this question, Jeff.
And I ask because anybody who knows South Toledo knows that that's a certain to survive that, and I don't mean survive well,
Mhm.
mostly I don't mean literally, but to survive that upbringing and still come out with some culture about yourself, some
Yeah.
class about yourself, it's not an easy thing.
You're right. I've had friends like Tom Scott, who is on the podcast, say you don't talk like you're from the south side of
Mm.
Toledo. So Toledo, Ohio, broken up into many different spots, as you can imagine, like most cities and towns. There's the South End, which is a little bit more affluent and well off, and then there's the South Side, which is a lot more dicier. Now, my parents grew up in my grandparents' house, or they bought my grandparents' house, and we were over by the old entrance to the Toledo Zoo, just right by the viaduct, and it's
So
right where he starts
Danny
getting
Thomas Park area right there.
Danny Thomas Park area. But that's not where I grew up there, but I really grew up in more of the heart of the South Side off of Western Avenue.
Which is where I grew up. So
Yes.
I had the
Where my
Danny
gr-
Thomas Park. I lived on Chapin right there,
Mhm.
right around the corner from Danny Thomas. And then I grew up on the other portion of where you're talking about off Western, off of Dell Street, where like most people would know Highland Park.
Yep, exactly. Where the library was. Now, why do we all say this for context? Well, I was definitely I was in that environment. I had friends in the neighborhood. I had friends who didn't make it out of that neighborhood. And
Yep.
I always like to use the word at a very early age. I was always kind of like forward thinking. And I just knew I didn't want to end up like how their brothers and sisters were ending up getting addicted to drugs, getting a part of different gangs. And I just knew I didn't want to be the culture, but I wanted to take that information that my eyes were retrieving, my brain was processing to understand my environment. I wanted to carry myself different. So I am a proud South Side Toledo guy, but I'm proud of it because I didn't become a part of it.
Correct.
But I used the culture, as you said, to find ways to better myself. I mean, I didn't start off in the political organization that I work now. I started off as a custodial worker right in the southern branch of the University of Toledo. I was a custodial worker there. I met people from all walks of life, from all parts of the city. I already knew how to talk the talk because I didn't grow up in this silver spoon kind of mentality. I mean, my parents sheltered me, my grandparents did the best, but I still remember riding my bike to Highland Park. I still remember seeing rough people and interacting with some rougher people I probably shouldn't have. But again, there was that respect. One thing that brought us definitely together, because you definitely wanted to know, like, who is this guy when we first met?
Oh, dude, I'm inquisitive of everybody.
And then we had a connection with my mom's side's dad, my grandfather, and their grocery store in South Toledo.
Schumann's.
The Schumann's, yeah. And there was a lot of brothers, and our families definitely knew each other, even though we didn't know each other. But we could relate, much like being in the fraternity, actually, where we can relate as brothers.
We were basically destined to meet.
Yeah. I mean, literally, between me, you, and Michael Lou, it was only a matter of time because Toledo is not a huge city. It probably has 250,000 people, and we're constantly floating. But everybody kind of knows everybody in this big little city.
For sure.
Right? And it's all about your reputation. That's another big thing with the Midwest and Toledo. So how I found Masonry was I was on a journey of self-improvement because I've said in past episodes, I wanted to better myself. And I knew being a custodial worker, working my way through college, I wanted to do something meaningful. And when I found that newspaper and I saw this Californian Freemason, who is a tattoo artist, the name's escaping me right now, but he was a part of this great article and I wanted to know more about it. And then I asked my dad, and my dad's not going to steer me wrong. He's not the most spiritual person, but he just said, this is something you got to check. So I just went on a whole pilgrimage of reading, trying to understand this until I bumped into a guy who, I asked the question, and then without even knowing me, he was a graduate student going to get his doctorate. I was the custodial school kid. He saw something in me and he took that leap and invited me to his house with his fiance at the time, now wife, and answered my questions. And I left with a petition. And I just went in blind. I read enough just to kind of understand the history, but I didn't want to have anything spoiled for me. And no matter what, with Masonry, you can't have it spoiled for you, because until you experience it and walk
I agree
those
with that.
steps, it doesn't matter what's in books. Your experience is going to take you into a whole nother plane of existence.
I fully agree with that. I am glad that I didn't do any research going into my EA. And I've done a little research since, but I didn't do anything looking towards my fellow craft. And the fellow craft experience, just the start of that portion the other day, was phenomenal. It was a great experience. It was educational, but it was enjoyable.
Yep.
And I'm going to kind of break off because I know you want to ask me a question.
No, you haven't. You're up to another question.
You said I have two, so I'm going to utilize them. So we have a gentleman that is sitting here and recording us, and he's going to do a lot of work afterwards.
Sure.
You guys have been friends for a good while. You've been brothers for a while. What is it about Mike Lou? And I'm hoping you're not going to get the same answer I am, even though it's a great answer. What is it about Mike Lou and the time that you've known him that just commands respect? And I know that's kind of a question that's off of topic of where we're at, but I feel that it's a question that they've seen his podcast. They've got to, they know he does the work behind the scenes, but they don't know Rob Franks and his relationship and his respect on why Mike Lou and Rob Franks started this podcast.
I love this question as well. To answer it, starting off, it's his persistence. It's him being a seeker of truth. It's him never settling. He and I call it a Southside Toledo mindset with all of us. It's that persistent of truth and continuous learning and not being settled by the environments where we came from. Michael brings that out of you. Mike is a perfectionist and he wants it done right.
100%.
He is the attention to detail of the architect and the architecture of this podcast, and we blend in and interweave so well as a partnership with my creative consistency connections. We couldn't have done this without one another. We've created something truly special. On top of that, Michael was my apprentice, and as I was his master craftsman or mentor in the fraternity. So I got to work with him along with Tom Scott. We called them the twins, and I was able to work with both of them together and also separately at times. And Michael's, just like Tom as well, constantly having questions, not settling to be second, always making sure he did it right. And there was times where we had to go over things over and over and over till it made sense. And it's that repetition. Michael has, as I would like to call, besides a brother, as a mentor to him, as I would like to humbly claim that, he's impressed me so much, just like you've impressed me. You see, that's one of the cool things about the fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, is when you have somebody that you've apprenticed, they also, and when they take it and they run with it, as Michael has, he was just an example. He wasn't out here throwing petitions at people. He was being an example, a light to the path. And that's what brought you. And that's why we share not only the South Side, but not only this fraternity, but this lineage of what brings us here together.
You were his mentor. Now Mike's my mentor. And I honestly couldn't ask, because you're inadvertently my mentor as well.
Yeah.
That's an
honor.
It's an honor for me. It's been great learning because you guys are so different, yet so much alike. Obviously, Masonry, it kind of blends us and makes us all alike. But your guys' differences has helped impact me moving through Masonry, because you have this, stick with this.
Yeah.
Learn about this.
Mm-hmm.
You'll figure this out. In due time, this is coming. And Mike is, be open, but you have to be perfect. And that's not a negative thing. Like going through the EA and the things that go into that is, I repeated the same thing so many times. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it's in your head.
It'll drive you insane. But I wanted to bring up Mike on that and ask that question.
Yeah.
Is Mike is the brother at the lodge that everybody talks to. And I don't even know if Mike realizes this, but when people talk to Mike, I don't think they realize the respect they have for Mike. Like, just the last meeting we had at lodge, a couple brothers passed through and are talking to Mike. They made it a point to stop to Mike, because I've watched these brothers, pass by a couple other brothers, whether it was intentional and unintentional, whatever it was. Maybe they would just stuck in a thought. They made it a point that Mike was a person to stop and talk to, and Mike doesn't get seen on the camera. You're every podcast. You're
Right.
Rob Franks. You're the face, the voice. But any brother that gets the opportunity to meet Mike, I feel that, and yes, it's my cousin, so I'm gonna be biased to an extent, right?
But you're right. You're right, because think about it. Michael has, with our relationship, has met so many different Masons of all walks of life now that he's building those same connections that I did years ago. And I've been in it for over 13 years. People say, oh, well, that's the one thing I hate, when people say, oh, you're just not high enough to know all the negative stuff. I'm like, try me, seriously. There isn't a stone I really haven't overturned to find, because I was looking like that. I was like, aha, this is the thing that everybody talks bad about, and I haven't found that.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna interrupt, and I know I'm limited to a 2 question, but this is a fun question for me. Now that you're the 33rd, who's controlling the government?
I'm R.L. Franks. That's Jeff Brown, and you are all square. No, listen, it's not like that.
I know. I just wanted to put you on
It's
that.
not like that at all.
Well, we were talking about the debunking and the myth busting,
yeah,
right?
I appreciate that. It's not like that at all. It's a truly powerful moment that not every Mason will get to experience. But as long as you can understand that it's within you, and that you love what you do, and that you're excited to be a part of this fraternity, being a third degree master Mason is the highest honor, because you get to experience it all. That's why we say that the 33rd, or the KYCH, or the 9th grade Rosicrucian, or whatever the grand title is, it's just an honor. I look at everything I've been a part of as you both should be as well, and in all the Masons out there, is we are the guarders of that door, and we must have good men joining, because it takes one bad apple to spoil it. So to be a leader in the fraternity, to be an example out there in a world that sometimes feels so dark, that's one of the powerful things as I wear this ring on my finger. I hope that makes sense. And it will. And as more as you get active in this fraternity, because it isn't my fraternity, it isn't Mike's fraternity, it's all of ours. And that's the big thing people worry about, hierarchies, is that in Masonry, is Masonry perfect? No, it's imperfect, but we're striving to be better, and we're striving to be examples in the world. So I really appreciate you providing me those questions.
I will agree with what you just said. Since I've been in Masonry, like, there's different positions in the lodge. Not a single one of those brothers has treated me like I was not their equal.
Right.
And that has been where I work, what I do, military, there's always somebody, and they let you know, whether it's condescendingly or just hey, this is who I am. I need to be more cognizant of calling somebody who's been a past master or a current master worshipful. I'm still new to,
Sure.
but I'm aware that I need to be doing that, but not one time. And it's within the rights,
right,
to correct me. And they've not done that. They still treat me like I've not offended them. I've not disrespected them.
Right. The highest honor is definitely being called brother. I always kind of go by the rule of thumb, is when I see a brother who may be a right worshipful or an illustrious or has obtained some honor, to at least say it once, and then you can go as brother. You don't have to. That's just my goal, just to show them that yes, you received that honor. It's a respect thing, and that's the one thing I want to talk about real quick. You mentioned it earlier, without even mentioning it. Masonry isn't instant gratification. You work for it. And so much in our society is right at our fingertips and being absorbed through little clips, whether it's TikTok or the reels, that we just get so stimulated in our attention spans. Masonry teaches you to be present in the now and be working on yourself. So that's a huge thing that I definitely would like to be put into this episode. Jeff, we've talked about your life. We've talked about um, so many different ranges of topics. Um, what is one big topic recently that has both, whether it's in masonry or whether it's on a book you read or a podcast, what is one thing that truly has caught your attention lately?
The most recent thing, we actually talked about it off screen. I know you guys, like, we've kind of stuck to the masonry bit. We've stuck to the family bit. I've kind of got stuck on these Egypt thing right now, right?
Just so the audience can get an understanding of what you mean when you say Egypt thing.
So recently on a podcast, it's a Joe Rogan podcast. Some of you may or may not like that, whatever that is, what that is. But it's on quite a few podcasts about a discovery of a labyrinth, which some Greek philosopher talked about 600 something freaking years ago. But now they're proving that what was said back then was true, that after the Nile River moved, like, the waterbed shifted and it caused this to completely be drowned out. So even if they try to drain it, they can't. The water just keeps refilling in the aquifers and all that there. So I'm kind of getting into this, like, why are we preventing knowledge from being out for people? Like, that has been the big thing, is why is knowledge, like, we were talking about another podcast that was, I think it was like 6 months ago, about the pyramids being like power generators and stuff like that. So I'm like on a, let me watch and what am I learning here type thing right now. And this is like, big named archaeologists are coming out now. Big name scientists are coming out and saying, hey, I seen this due to water erosion, or I seen this due to certain amounts of metals in the sand. Or we did a the most recent one was that Joe Rogan one I was talking about, that they did the topographical scan and they shot down the sound waves into the ground, right?
And maybe Mike can put the name and the person just so you guys can check that out, because I actually just watched it last night, as well as the one, I believe it was before that, which was the director of the new ufology documentary, The Age of Disclosure, which was phenomenal as well. Yeah, it's an interesting topic right now that is like really challenging, the present writing of our history. And I could totally see why people who has spent, and people before them who spent their whole lives writing a certain kind of history, is worried maybe we got it wrong and having to rewrite the history books.
But this is going to sound cliche. We call it whatever you want to call it, right?
Sure.
But that's why not everybody's Masons, because not everybody's trying to better themselves. They want to set on, I came to this conclusion, so this is the only possible answer. They're not willing to go, I'm wrong, and this is amazing, and now I can grow, and maybe I fix my knowledge base and I learn more now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's one thing I love going back to the Masonic Freemasonry, is that we talk about these different schools of thought and philosophy, and in some with respect, theology, esoteric, hermetic, whatever word you want to put in, is that we're talking about water erosion with the Sphinx, hidden possible chambers, the Nile once was directed a certain way and now it's not, and there could be something even hidden under the sand.
Yeah, I believe they were saying there was something like a 40-yard
Metallic. Yeah,
like,
absolutely. It's a great episode. Joe Rogan does phenomenal. And just having these open realms of talking. I mean, this right now, if you think about it, is the best time to be a human. Why? because we're talking about all sorts of different topics. I remember we talked about the firmament outside, and we talked about space travel and all this other stuff. And
Talked
even,
about string
yeah, we
theory.
talked about, quantum entanglement. I mean, literally, this is stuff we've talked about.
And that's something I enjoy about masonry, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I actually learned when I was kind of digging and studying into masonry is brothers sitting around and growing each other, whether it was a pertinent knowledge or a useful knowledge, learning from one another to grow yourself and talking about the things and having a philosophy about it, or having just, hey, what do you think about this? It doesn't have to be like we can talk about UFOs. Your belief may be there's no such thing as UFOs. This is my beliefs. God created Earth.
Yeah.
Everything else is just there for filler space. And then I can be like, okay, well, a being created Earth, and I believe this, that, and the other. And
Sure.
but to have a discussion and nobody gets angry about it, and we try to grow and learn from it.
Yeah, it's I have all sorts of thoughts that may be different from you and me, but the point is we learn from each other. We don't disparage that. And, not everybody in the fraternity gets that as well, because depending on certain lodges and certain viewpoints, they might just be not the lodge or masonry, but just the individual, maybe just solely entrenched in their beliefs and say everything else is hogwash. Masonry, when you are in that room, it's just amazing how time just stands still and everybody's focusing on the present, focusing on now. Yes, we go to business meetings, but even outside the lodge, it's just like time stops and you can have these kind of conversations on all sorts of topics that relate to you. And
I really
Masonry's
think
been
that's
doing that
where
forever.
lodge starts, though.
I
Like,
agree.
I think you have the business meeting from my experience in a year. I think you have the business meeting, and then you're like, all right, brothers, let's go downstairs. And then that's where the real discussions of
Yeah.
the world,
Yeah.
everything just comes into play. Like you don't know what one brother may bring up, and it's usually a brother you don't expect to bring it up.
You're right. And by the way, that can also happen internally in the lodge too, with different educations and lectures and topics. And again, it's interesting science, it's interesting schools of thoughts, it's fringe, it's different, maybe we do got the history wrong and we have to evaluate it. So I agree, and those are between that Age of Disclosure documentary and that episode of Joe Rogan, and also that other episode with the director of Age of Disclosure. Two phenomenal episodes of Joe Rogan's podcast to check out. So I appreciate that we live in a country where we are able to have these conversations.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that is just such a blessing. Jeff, it's awesome watching your journey into the fraternity. I really appreciate you coming on the 33rd episode of All Square. This is incredible.
With the 33rd degree, who's brand new.
Yeah. Listen, people are going to watch this. People are going to have thoughts and questions. What's one thing, a testament that you want to leave behind for other people? It doesn't need to be Masonic. What's one piece of wisdom you want to leave behind for the people who are watching this?
It actually comes from a former boss of mine that every person I worked with hated.
Okay.
But I understand it. It is strive for perfection and settle for excellence, because no matter how hard you try, you will never reach perfection, but you can always reach excellence. And when he said it, and that boss of mine, he was a jerk. But I'll tell you what, every day when I go to work, it's like, man, I strive to be perfect. Or when I go home to my kids, I strive to be the perfect father. I strive to be the perfect husband. And I know I have my shortcomings. I have those days where I'm stressed from work, or I'm angry from work, or I'm just exhausted. But I do the best I can to be a good dad, and I just do my best to be a good husband. Or when I'm going into work, if I'm stressed from something from home, like I try to not bring that into work, and I try to be the best boss that I can, or the best peer, or the best employee, because I still have my own boss, and I still find the joy in that is just like, yeah, I didn't reach perfection today. There's always tomorrow. Like, but today I did pretty good.
That's my brother, Jeff Brown. I'm R.L. Franks, and you are all square. Thank you, Jeff.
I appreciate it, Rob. Thank you.
Hey, R.L. Franks here. Thanks again for watching today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you believe someone can benefit from the message that we provided on today's podcast, send it over to them. You may inspire them.